What's going on, college basketball fans? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with a Flyin Illini reaction. This is where you guys see me do the Flyin Illini breakdown. This is where I do the reaction post game. Haven't been able to do a lot of these because I've been humping. Schedule's been crazy. First off, I just want to send my condolences and well wishes to the Michigan State University family for that tragedy that took place. Hearts are heavy. The senseless violence is mind-boggling to me. So my hearts and prayers go out to the Michigan State family and those that were affected by this tragedy. It's a senseless act of violence, and I don't know what the answer is, but we need to find it quickly because I'm really getting tired of seeing these types of things happen to our young people. Just it needs to stop. Let me move on to the game. Tip your hat to the Penn State Nittany Lions. They needed a game, a signature win, a quad one win, and they got it in impressive fashion, 93-81. They have a season sweep of the Illini. So both wins by Penn State over Illinois were double digits. Jalen Pickett was outstanding. He had a career high and Big Ten season high, 41 points. Now, this stat line is sick, y'all. 15 of 20 from the field with 8 assists, and he missed his last 2 shots. So at one point, he was 15 of 18 from the field with 8 assists. So it wasn't like he was coming down shooting every time. And he didn't get to the free throw line that much. The Illini didn't, he was 6 of 6 from the line. So he didn't kill the Illini from the line. It was just that he got hot. 5 of 9 from 3, 15 of 20 from the field, and 8 assists. That might be one of the best stat lines in the country this season. I know Zach Edey, I believe he had 38 and 20. So that might have 38 and 22 rebounds. That's probably the best stat line, but Pickett's is not far from it. That was a whale of an individual effort by Jalen Pickett, also by his team. Seth Lundy, Andrew Funk came out of a funk, so no pun intended. Cam Winter got a couple buckets, so Penn State was electric on the offensive end. Here's an interesting stat, guys. In the last 7 games, the Illini have given up 41 to Jalen Pickett from Penn State, 35 from Trace Jackson Davis at Indiana, and 32 from Tony Perkins at Iowa. So there's something, in my opinion, that the opposing teams are seeing in the scouting report. There's something there. I don't know if it's the Illini's defensive adjustments or their defensive approach, but opposing teams are seeing something that are allowing their leading scorers to really go off against the Illini. Coleman Hawkins was charged for a lot of the game to try to guard Jalen Pickett, and that's a tough ask. I know Coleman is talented in so many different ways, but when you're asking a 6'10", 6'11" player to try to guard a guy like Pickett, who is really crafty, and he's not fast, he doesn't jump high, but he's strong as an ox. He's shifty, so he can get you off balance. And then when he's hitting his 3, like he was last night, you're asking Coleman to guard a guy on the perimeter. And even though Coleman has perimeter skills, it's tough for those bigs to get out 19, 20, 21 feet away from the bucket and feel comfortable defending an open space. That's a tough ask. And, and it's a tough ask to guard Pickett in general. I don't care who you guard, who you put on. Do you put Ty Rodgers on him? Do you start Ty Rodgers and put him on him to start the game? Do you put Terrence Shannon on him and take away your leading scorer that could get in foul trouble? Do you put Matthew Meyer on him, and then Matthew Meyer's offense is affected because you've got to pay so much attention? It's a tough ask. I get it. There is no simple answer to it. But whatever is happening, opposing coaches and staffs are seeing something in the way that the Illini are defending that they're taking advantage of it. Some of the good things that I saw out of the game from the Illini, Dane Danger had 9 points. The Illini were 1 point away from having 6 guys in double figures. So offensively, they were good. The Illini did some good things. I believe they shot just shy of 50% on 47.5%. Here's what got them, though. You take away Luke Goody and RJ Melendez's late threes, the starters are 5 of 24 from three-point land. So Epps is 0 of 7. Shannon's 1 of 5. Myers 2 of 5. And Coleman Hawkins is 2 of 6. So the Illini continue to put up threes, but they're not shooting a particularly good percentage. And I think it's a tough matchup. The Illini just don't match up with Penn State very well. I think that's obvious. And Micah Shrewsbury understands that. And there was a play at the beginning of the second half that was kind of an example of the Illini's kind of confusion in guarding Pickett. Pickett got the ball in the key area. And I believe in this particular junction of the game, they wanted Ty Rodgers to fight through all the screens and stay one-on-one with Jalen Pickett. And I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was about the 17 or 16-minute mark of the second half. The Illini came out of the halftime break on a 7-1 push. So they got back into the game quickly. Ty Rodgers and Jaden Epps are in this defensive action. Jalen Pickett, I believe, comes off of, was it Andrew Funk? It was either Andrew Funk or Seth Lundy. And Ty Rodgers and Jaden Epps come together, and I think they're used to switching, but this time they weren't supposed to switch. So it's going to happen. You're going to get 2 freshmen in a defensive situation. And what happened was Jalen Pickett came off of it. They didn't communicate well, and he walked in for a layup. And that's kind of been the situation with the Illini defensively at times, because good teams, good offensive teams, are going to put freshmen in defensive assignments like that. And a lot of times freshmen are going to make mistakes. And so, I think at times they were trying to keep the same person on Jalen Pickett. At times they were trying to switch. So it's really difficult. And you tip your hat to Micah Shrewsbury and Penn State, because that's a part of their game plan. They try to get, Micah Shrewsbury is a mad scientist in the most positive manner that I can say it. It's a very high level adjective is the way I'm describing Micah Shrewsbury. I think he's an offensive genius. And what they do is they put you in a science experiment. How are you going to handle this? What are you going to do? What are you going to shift? Are you going to hard hedge? Are you going to switch? Are you going to fight through the screen? And when you put 2 freshmen in that situation, that's what happens. You've got a veteran putting 2 freshmen in a defensive situation, and he got a layup. And that's kind of the way the game went for the Illini on the defensive end. Penn State shoots 58% on the game. 12 of 28 from 3, which is pretty good. You give up 12 threes, it's going to be tough to beat a team in college basketball when you give up 12 threes. So, is it a little bit of Illini's defensive effort? Yes. Is it a lot of Penn State's offense? Yes. It's a lot of Penn State's offense. Seth Lundy was 3 of 6 from 3. Andrew Funk was 2 of 6 from 3. And Jalen Pickett was 5 of 9. And here's the thing that I like about what Penn State was doing. There were 4 of Cam Winter needs to take threes, because he's generally a pretty good shooter. He's been in a terrible slide lately. He took 1 3. And there were 3 other players that took threes, but not many. So the 3 guys that were hot, Seth Lundy, Jalen Pickett, and Andrew Funk. Let me do the math real quick. 5 of 12. 10 of 21 from three. So they had their hot hands shooting the majority of threes. So their guys, their hot hands hit 10 of the 12 threes. So great offensive game plan and execution by Penn State. Illinois is going to have to go back to the drawing board because, again, the last 7 games in conference play, Pickett's gotten 41, Trace Jackson Davis has gotten 35, and Tony Perkins has gotten 32. And I believe Pickett and Perkins were career highs. I don't think that was a career high for Trace Jackson Davis. I don't think that was a career high, but it was close. So in the last 7 games, when the Illini have been playing really well, right? But in those 3 losses, they got torched by the leading scorers. So there needs to be some sort of adjustment there, or maybe the Illini do a better job of holding some of the other guys down. But, I mean, when you look at it, Seth Lundy has 15. I mean, that's not going crazy. Funk has 10. Well, Clary had 12. So that was a guy that he kind of got loose that the Illini didn't expect, because Clary has not been scoring that like that. So he was an outlier in that game. So I think I've heard Underwood in the past say, okay, if this guy goes off, then we got to hold everyone else down. They did a pretty good job with Funk and Lundy, but Clary got loose for 12. And so that's probably the difference in the game, maybe from the standpoint. I'm guessing, guys. I'm not saying this for certain, but I'm guessing that was maybe the approach that Coach Underwood was trying to get done there. So once again, Penn State beats the Illini 93-81. I wish I would have I did this quickly because I was trying to get to you guys. Let me run through where the standings are in the Big Ten, because here's how crazy it is, guys. Rutgers got beaten last night at home by Nebraska, and Nebraska controlled the majority of that game at the rack. So at the beginning of last week, Rutgers was in second place. You know what place they're in right now? They're in 9th place in the Big Ten. That's what kind of week it was for Rutgers. Let's see, first, second. Yeah. Rutgers and Michigan are tied, I believe, for 8th place. So they start out in second place. They're in 8th place. So Purdue at 12-3 now looks like they're not going to run away with the league, because I've got Purdue tomorrow at Maryland. That's going to be an excellent game. So we'll see. Will the Boilers rebound in that one? Northwestern is 9-5, and they've got the 9-5 Indiana Hoosiers tonight at home. Big Ten Network. That's going to be a hell of a game. So Northwestern and Indiana tied for second, 2.5 games behind the Purdue Boilermakers. And don't sleep, but Michigan State, Iowa, Maryland, and Illinois all knotted at 8 and 6 for third place. Rutgers, I'm sorry, not 9th. Rutgers is 4th, because there's been some movement in the standings. But it's crazy. And it's going to shift even more as we go down the regular season. All right, let me get to you guys really quickly. I see, man, I got a lot of comments. I didn't think I'd get this many comments this early, but I see some Illini fans have something to say. Kevin McDuffie, I don't know what to say. I'm shocked. This is college basketball in February, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the Rutgers fan base. They're coming off a win at Madison Square Garden against Michigan State, who they lost to early in the year, so they avenge an earlier loss. They have a critical week where they go to Indiana, they lose. They go to Illinois, they lose. Now they come back home to play a Nebraska team that's playing well. They had to come from 10 down to beat Wisconsin in overtime, but they did in Pinnacle Bank Arena. But one of the things Nebraska had not done, one, followed up a victory, a good game with another good game, two, taking their act on the road. And if you Illini fans remember, Nebraska played Illinois pretty well in Champaign, and then Illinois kind of got control of the game the second half, the second part of the second half of that game. But now Rutgers sitting here, lost their most versatile defender in the Michigan State game in Mawat Mag, and the next 3 games they drop. So it can turn fast, Big Ten fans, for your particular programs. So February is moving season, meaning that teams are moving up, teams are moving down. There's a lot of shifting going on. So I know you're shocked, Kevin McDuffie, but there are a few fan bases in the Big Ten that are shocked right now just because that's the way February conference basketball is. No doubt about it, Jalen Pickett is certainly legit. And I'm glad to see that people are giving him his roses now because the dude he's an All-American. Let's just call it what it is. He's an All-American. Matthew Myers either All-American or missing in action. I don't think the Illini played bad, but they played like they didn't want to be there sometimes. Will they ever all get on the same page? Joseph Hayden, I'm with you on Matthew Meyer. I like the young man. I've gotten to know him a little bit because I've been around. I get a chance to talk to him. He's a highly intelligent young man, but sometimes he looks like he would rather be someplace else than on the court. When he locks in defensively, he's as good as the Illini have. When he locks in on the offensive end, he's a little bit wild, but he's a shot creator and shot maker. So you have to let him go a few times. You got to let him get 2 or 3 maybe in a game where it's like, oh my gosh, but you got to let him go because he can get hot. But those games when he's not locked in, when he looks like he's on Mars, it's tough to watch. I agree with you. It's tough to watch. And, think about it, guys. Every program is going through this in February. Seniors and fifth-year seniors and super seniors, they may have their mind on where they're going next. I hate to say it. I'm just gonna keep it real. Me and Kendall, our senior year at Illinois, we had a very difficult season. We had a lot NCAA violations hanging over our head. I remember Lou Henson was trying to force Andy Kaufman into the starting lineup when he really wasn't ready, and our fan base was booing Andy Kaufman. Can you imagine that? As a freshman, and all you're trying to do is help your team win, and you're getting booed by your home fans? Because I don't know why Lou Henson was trying to force him into the situation, but he was. So we had that to deal with. Deion Thomas was ruled ineligible, so he couldn't play with us. I think I posted something recently where the NCAA tried to keep me and Kendall from playing, and they kept messing around with our eligibility until hours before the Wisconsin game. And so, we're coming off a Final Four year, and there's a lot of expectations that everything that could go wrong went wrong, and we still got to the tournament. So you think about these Big Ten teams like Wisconsin, Michigan, these teams that are really struggling right now, Rutgers, Penn State got a big win. Nebraska got a big. Look at Ohio State. Ohio State. I mean, those guys, they play like they got one foot out the door. And it's I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, but that's a reality. In February in college basketball, there's a lot of different things that are working against teams and cohesiveness. And you're starting to see Nebraska's all in. Northwestern's all in. Purdue is all in. Right? Some of these other teams, I don't know. Are they all in? I don't know. Looks like Indiana's all in. Indiana's won 8 of their last 9. So you can kind of tell the teams that are all together, they're all in. Are the Illini all in? We'll see. We'll have to see. I'm not saying they were supposed to beat Penn State, but to give up the type of point production that we've seen in the last 7 games to the 3 leading scorers, that's a little tough to watch. But Illinois doesn't have much time to lick their wounds because you know where their next game is? At Indiana. So they got to right the ship quickly because they get Trace Jackson Davis once again. Caleb Barkley, another great defensive effort from the Illini. I thought I was watching the Bulls game. That's pretty good, Caleb. That's funny. Oh no, everybody loves Coleman Hawkins. There's nothing not to love. I thought he played pretty well. He got to the hole. He scored. He was trying to guard Pickett. I thought he played pretty well. Courtney Adams. Boo Booey is the big man on campus right now. You see, he was in the middle taking selfies, dancing. You would have thought they won a national title, but I loved it. Well, Courtney, here's the thing. You're talking about a Northwestern program that has not had a ton of sustained success, right? They've been to the NCAA tournament one time in the last 50 years. I think that game may have assured Northwestern that they were going to be in the tournament. Even though they're second in the Big Ten, I thought they were solidly in the NCAA tournament with their record, with their wins, with their quad one wins. They've got to win at Indiana. They've got to win at Illinois. They've got a win at Michigan State. I mean, they've got some really impressive wins. But they're Northwestern, and perception-wise, for them to beat the number one team in the country, that's a huge release. It's a huge affirmation of the hard work that Boo Booey has put in, because Boo Booey has been balling. He kept Northwestern afloat until Chase Audige caught fire towards the end, and they were able to pull off the upset. So I get it. He should have been taking selfies and dancing, because they've been busting their tail to get to this point. And so I'm good with it. Courtney Adams, I know I haven't seen you before, because I would have recognized your avatar. So thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Bardo's Breakdown. Yes, tough. Gary Haynes, I don't think Brad's coaching was good enough. Gary's got a strong point here. Let's see what he's talking about. Brad's coach was good during the game. He had no control of his players. Hawkins is not a good three-point shooter. I disagree with that. I disagree with a couple points here, but let's keep going. Hurt the team with kickouts and bad three-point shots. If they want to concentrate on layups, make more free throws, Illini would have won. While Pickett is very good on all other teams in the league, don't have as much trouble guarding him. He would have gotten his quota, but not went off as crazy the way he matches up with the Illini. I agree with the others. All right, Gary, that's a lot. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, and thanks for sharing your opinion. I do appreciate it. He has no control of his players. I don't agree with that. Hawkins is not. I think Coleman Hawkins is a pretty good three-point shooter. Let me look that up really quickly instead of just guessing. Well, statistically, you may be right. I think he has the potential to be a good three-point shooter, but Gary, you're right. He's 28%. That's not good. So you're right there. With his kickouts and bad three-point shots, if they would have concentrated on layups and dunks, made more free throws. Now you got to remember, Gary, the Illini shoot the second most threes in the Big Ten. They don't make the second most threes, but they shoot the second most threes in the Big Ten. That's a big part of their offensive attack. So they can't go away from that just because, they have a tough shooting night. That's a part of what they do. And that's a part of being a three-point shooting team. Penn State's had some nights where they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. And they depend on the three-point shot more than the Illini do. It's just that last night they were hot. And so when they're hot from three, it looks great. When you're not shooting well from three, it looks terrible. And that's kind of the way it is with this Illini team. So I have to put that in there with your comment. Pickett is very good, and you may be right. Other teams in the league don't have as much trouble guarding him, because here's the thing. Every team, Gary, in the Big Ten has a particular team that they don't particularly match up well against. That's just what it is. Rutgers does not match up well against Iowa. Iowa beat them twice. Let me think. Michigan does not match up well with Wisconsin. Wisconsin swept that series. Purdue, the last couple seasons has not matched up well with Rutgers. Rutgers has won 3 of the last 5 against Purdue, I believe. I believe it's 3 of the last 5. So every team has a particular team that they just don't match up well with. And Penn State is that team to Illinois this season. It's just the way that it matches up. But I appreciate your strong views and you sharing that with us. Thank you. Hey, Michael, good to see you again. I'm doing quite well, sir. How about you? I have to say that I'm surprised that Pickett didn't get 50 last night. Well, he had 8 assists. That's why he didn't get 50 points. He was setting up his teammates. When you get 41 points and 8 assists, that's a crazy line, man. That's like a Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic line. Guys that can really score and really pass. That's you just don't see that in college basketball a lot. That's an unbelievable stat line. Past lives, you like Michigan State, but I watched them and just don't see it. I respect the program. Yeah, Ron, here's the thing with Michigan State. Michigan State's going to do far better when they get out of conference. Trust me. Michigan State right now is 8-6, so they're tied for third. They're 16-9. I don't have their tournament resume up, but their tournament resume is solid. And I wouldn't go against Tom Izzo in March. Tom Izzo gets the most out of his teams as much as any coach in college basketball during this time of the year. And I wouldn't bet against Michigan State. Let's see what Michigan State has left. I know they're scheduled to go to Michigan. I'm not sure if that game is going to take place based on all that's happened on their campus. But they've got to go to Michigan. They've got Indiana coming back to their place. They got to go to Iowa. That's going to be a tough one. But Michigan State matches up pretty well with Iowa. They got to go to Nebraska, which will be a tough game. And then they finish the regular season with Ohio State coming to them. So there's still a lot in the, obviously with the situation at Michigan State, we don't know if they're going to play this weekend. It's going to have an effect on their team for obvious reasons. So we don't quite know, but I would not bet against Tom Izzo at this point and in March. I think Michigan State is going to be just fine. Good to see you, Ron. Thanks for tuning in. Good news is Epps, Rogers, Harris look better and better. Yeah, Gary, they do. I thought Epps kind of regressed a little bit from the three-point line. I think he was over. Yeah, he didn't shoot the ball well from 3, but he's getting better. There's no doubt about it. And I tell you, man, Ty Rodgers, y'all been hearing me say this all season. That dude is coming. When he made that move, he took Lundy. He put Lundy in the spin cycle. He caught on the side. It looked like a clear out. He went hard left, spun back to the baseline and put him in the bucket. Got a tip dunk, got another layup. I mean, Ty's coming. He is coming. So, and Sincere Harris has settled into his role beautifully. So the freshmen are doing very well. What's up, man? I pull for Michigan to get in a little run, then they go backwards. I can't put my finger on why they can't get rolling. Here's what I want you to consider, man. Michigan is starting a freshman point guard, a freshman 2 guard, Kobe Butwell, 2 wings. One of them is a freshman, and Jet Howard. He's a good one. They're starting Kobe Buffkin, who's a sophomore who did not play at all last year. So he's really a freshman. He's playing pretty well. And then you've got Terrence Williams, who didn't play yesterday due to injury or illness, or I didn't quite get the clarification on that. He didn't play. But you have Will Cheddar, who does not play a lot. And then you've got Hunter Dickinson inside. So like the Illini, or like Purdue even, Purdue's not a good example because those freshmen have been outstanding. They've stubbed their toe, but they've been outstanding. That's not a good example because there's been some freshmen that have had some outstanding seasons in the Big Ten Conference this season. But I just want you to consider, man, that it's really difficult in the Big Ten to win with freshmen in the backcourt. That's why Purdue is such an outlier. It's just difficult. Ohio State's got two really talented freshmen, but they're at the bottom of the league. And it's not their fault. It's just that it's difficult to win with freshmen. And I think that's what Michigan is running into. And I want people to remember that Michigan, the last 2 seasons, has lost 3 players to the G League Ignite situation. Those 3 players are top 25 players. So last season it was Isaiah. I can't remember Isaiah's last name. But this season they were supposed to have 2 players that were going to be on their roster that were top 25 guys. If they're on this roster right now, Michigan is in the running for first, second, or third place in the Big Ten right now. That's how much talent Michigan has lost to the G League Ignite in the last 2 seasons. They've lost 3 players to the G League Ignite. These guys are talented enough to be getting 6 figures in that scenario. So take all that into consideration, man. Okay. Trace Jackson Davis' career high is 43. Thank you, Michael. So he didn't get 43 against the Illini, but he got 35, and he dominated that game. And the Illini have an opportunity to go back this weekend to Bloomington, Indiana, to avenge that loss. Let's see the defensive strategy that they'll employ against Trace Jackson Davis in Indiana. Gary Haynes, what's wrong with Melendez? Just seems lost. His game is way off. Well, he got suspended for violation of team rules. Brad Underwood, I think, does a good job of protecting his players, so we don't know what happened in that scenario. But, you know, when you violate team rules and you don't play, he did not play in their last victory against Rutgers. And now you got Luke Goody coming off injury, and they're trying to find minutes for him. So now RJ gets pushed further down the depth chart. And if Brad thought he could help him win, he'd be playing more. It's not that anything's necessarily wrong with him. It's a different team, and this team has different needs than last season's team. And so I don't know. RJ didn't do himself any favors by violating team rules in the stretch run. That's a situation where a coach kind of questions whether he can trust you or not. This is if you're gonna violate team rules, it needs to be in November or December. Can't be down the stretch in February, because if a coach loses trust in you, then you won't see the floor the rest of the season, because these games are too critical. You're trying to get ready for the stretch run, and Melendez didn't do himself any favors in that scenario. Wow. Now, this is a strong statement. This year's team is the worst three-point shooting team in the history of the university. Why are they shooting the most three-point shots in the history of the university? To make it worse, they are very effective at two-point shooting, but refuse to focus on being efficient on offense. Facebook user, I don't have the ability to fact check that right now, but if that is indeed the case, those are legitimate questions. I do know that they are a very good three-point shooting team. Let me pull up Ken Palm here real quick while I'm got you guys on here. Let's take a look. Illinois is shooting 31% from three. That's 305th best out of 363 Division I teams. They're shooting 56% from two, which is 14th best in the nation. So Facebook, I don't know who this is because you're not coming up. But for this season, that's a legitimate concern. But that's a big part of what the Illini do is shooting threes. So, but those are valid questions. Um, great point. I'll star that comment because that's legit. In your opinion, what does Purdue have to do to complete the sweep tomorrow at Maryland? Um, Maryland's going to throw some different. Maryland's going to change defenses. They're going to full court pressure. They're going to half court pressure. They'll start in a zone and then they'll go to man in the same possession. They're going to give Purdue a lot of different looks. And so, if Zach Edey, when Purdue's gotten in trouble, Zach Edey's had high turnover numbers. He had 6 against Northwestern. He had 5 against Indiana in their loss at Indiana. I can't remember the number of turnovers that Maryland forced on Edey in the second half, but it was 3. It was at least 3 in the second half alone. So it's going to be interesting. Can Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, David Jenkins, Brandon Newman, Mason Gillis, and Ethan Morton, can they handle the different looks? Can they handle the pressure that Maryland's going to throw at them? That's going to be the key to the game. Because if they can handle the pressure and get it into Edey, and Edey doesn't he cannot turn the ball over. Because again, when he has high turnovers, that usually leads to fast break points for the other team. And that's how Maryland got back in the game at Mackey in the first matchup. And that's how Maryland's going to win. Maryland's not going to win a walk-up half-court game against Purdue. Very, very few teams will do that again. Very few teams can beat Purdue not pressuring, playing half-court defense, playing half-court offense. You're not going to beat the Boilers like that. You've got to change speeds. You've got to speed them up a little bit. And that's what I expect to see tomorrow night in that game. That's going to be fun. Me and Corey Provis will be on the 1s and 2s in that one. How do other teams defend PSU and Pickett? They don't score like that against others. Illini don't seem to change their defense. Mike Woodenboulder. What's up, Mike? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Mike, I think there's some validity in what you're saying here. The Illini like to stick to their defensive principles. You don't see them change a lot during the game. They may have to change, though. And Brad Underwood's not afraid to change things. We've seen that. If it's not working, he will go back to the drawing board and try to figure out what will. So they've seen that it hasn't worked in those 3 games that I mentioned, the losses to Indiana, the loss to Iowa, and the loss to Penn State. We'll see what happens moving forward. How do other teams defend PSU and Pickett? A lot of times, from what I've seen, it's Penn State not shooting the ball well. That's pretty much their game. If they shoot well, it's tough to defend them because they just space you out and they put you in ball screen action and they force you to make a decision. And so Wisconsin did a pretty good job against Penn State because what they would do is they would have the big kind of hard hedge a little bit, meaning that where the Illinois in ball screen coverage, they like to drop coverage. Well, Stephen Crowell and Tyler Wall, they'll do some different things defensively where they're not in drop coverage all the time. They'll change their coverage. They'll hard hedge. They'll press up against their guys. So they give the guard a decision whether they want to go over the top or they want to go underneath. What bigs do is they belly up to their defender. So that allows the guard to see, okay, I can't get over the top. I can meet Pickett on the other side and then force him to take a step back 3. So I've seen different teams do different things that the Illini typically don't do. The Illini like to be in drop coverage and ball screen coverage. That's why Pickett and that's why Perkins were able to take advantage of that. I think before the game yesterday, Illini were 4th in Big Ten standings. Now they are 7th. Yesterday, they would have had a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Do they even have a chance at a bye in the Big Ten? Oh, of course. Of course. Guys, let me listen. The Illini still have 6 games to play. Or no, wait a minute. That's not right. That's Michigan State. Hold on. Let me pull this up. The Illini still have 2, 4. The Illini still has 7 games. No, 6, 2, 4. Yeah, the Illini still have 7 games left. Because remember, they got to make up that Minnesota game. And I believe that game is going to be – oh, no, they rescheduled it. So the Illini have 6 games left. So, look, I told you Rutgers was in second, and they dropped almost to 9th in a week. So don't worry about the double bye or anything like that. The Illini are in great shape. They're in great shape. They got 6 games left. If the Illini beat Indiana, and you assume they could beat Minnesota at home, can they beat Northwestern at home? Can they beat Ohio State on the road? Can they beat Michigan at home? And can they beat Purdue on the road? Best case scenario, I can see the Illini going 5-1 in that stretch. What does 5-1 put the Illini at in Big Ten play? If the Illini finish 5-1, they would be 13-7. I believe that'd get them a double bye. So a lot of basketball left. Don't push the panic button yet. That's why the regular season is so important. That's why I don't like the bracketology talk. I get it once we get into mid-February. I get it. When we start talking about brackets in January, oh, it drives me crazy. I don't like it. So a lot of basketball left to be played, ladies and gentlemen. So just hold your horses. Don't hit the panic button. Is Dickinson the problem at Michigan? Of course not. People don't like Hunter Dickinson because he's a brash young man. He's got confidence. He's got swag. He doesn't say the right things all the time. He doesn't do the things that people want him to do. And so he's public enemy number 1. But trust me, ask the 13 other Big Ten programs, would they want Hunter Dickinson on their team? See the answer that you'd get. Ask the different teams around the country, would they want Hunter Dickinson on their team? And if anybody said they didn't, they're lying to you. Now, yes, you have to take the stuff off the court. Yes, you have to take his antics. He's still a boss. The dude is a baller. He's got a young team that can't get him the ball effectively, is my opinion. He doesn't get the ball enough. That's not Michigan. Hunter Dickinson is not Michigan's problem. If Michigan doesn't have Hunter Dickinson right now, oh, they're looking like Minnesota or Ohio State. I'm just telling you. What's up, Pooh? Trace Jackson Davis, this man's stock is going up and up. Bardo, was he playing this good the first month of the year? If it wasn't for Edey, he is a big – y'all, there's no question about it. No question about it. He was hurt, Pooh. He played through a bad back. I can't stress that enough. People can't get out of bed with a bad back. He played with a bad back. And now he's healthy. That's why he looks like the Big Ten Player of the Year. But, no, he wasn't playing this well, but his team wasn't playing this well either. But he's playing it. He's playing like it right now. Yes. Dickinson is weird. Did you see his antics at Wisconsin? What's wrong with being weird? I don't see a problem with that. The weirdos run the world. The weirdos are the one that buck the trend. The weirdos are the ones that tend to live out their life the way that they want to. Who wants to fall in line? Who wants to be a follower? Not me. What's wrong with being weird? I'm not getting at you cats now. I'm asking a legitimate question. What's wrong with being weird? Who wants to? What's fun about being like everybody else? Where is that fun? You want to be like everybody else, but you're not. The creator didn't make you like that. The creator made all of us like individuals. We all have a very unique fingerprint. We all have a very unique set of skills and gifts that we've been given by the creator. So what's wrong with being weird? Michael asks, what does Northwestern have to do tonight so they don't have a letdown against Indiana? Great question. I don't know. And you know what? If I'm Chris Collins, and you do have a letdown, I mean, if they compete and they lose, I I don't know that you can hold that against the kids. I don't. It's a great opportunity for them. They can continue to stay in the hunt for a Big Ten conference title, which would be great. But you've got Indiana coming in. Indiana's good, and they beat them in Bloomington, but it was a really close game, and Indiana made a furious comeback. But Northwestern controlled that game throughout. But this is a different Indiana animal. This is a different team. Miller Kopp is playing it a lot better. Trey Galloway is playing a lot better. Jalen Hood-Schifino is up and down, but when he's up, boy, he's good. Trace Jackson Davis playing like the Big Ten Player of the Year, not named Zach Edey. So, great question, Michael. I don't know, but if you're Chris Collins, you want your they'll play hard because they're a veteran group. But if they do have a letdown, I'm okay with it. Where do you rank Big Ten teams? Big Ten in terms of top conferences in the country. I think you got to rank them second. I think the Big 12 is number one. Big 12 just has the level at the top, I believe, is better than the level at the top of the Big 10. And when you look at the bottom where, Ohio State is really struggling. Minnesota has just been decimated with injury, and they're young and they're struggling. You look at West Virginia. West Virginia, I believe, beat Baylor, or was it? It wasn't Baylor. It may have been Iowa State. But Texas Tech beats Texas the other night. That Texas Tech is considered one of the bottom feeders of the Big 12, and they're not bad. I mean, so I would put the Big 12 overall number one, but I picked the Big 10 right behind them. The Nile Crocodile. Are you worried about the Illini's lack of 3-point shooting? No. It's when you put the 3-point shot as part of your attack, you're going to have games when they don't drop. You're going to have games when they do drop, and that's why it's one of the that's what you have to live with when you make the 3-point shot a part of your attack. So no, I'm not concerned with it. What I am concerned for the Illini is, can they overcome poor nights shooting the 3 ball? That's the mark of an elite team. Can you overcome nights when you don't shoot the 3 well? Can you figure out ways to get more quality looks at the 2? Because one of the somebody referenced earlier, which is great, that Illinois is a poor 3-point shooting team, but they're top 15 in the country at 2-point field goals. So why don't they focus more on that? And we may see that moving forward. Brad Underwood may limit the amount of threes that he would like to see from his team. We'll see. Kevin McDuffie has been giving Jalen Pickett his flowers since day one. I'll give you credit on that, Kevin. You've been saying Penn State and Jalen Pickett forever. Wesley Duhon. Wait a minute. Wesley Duhon. This is something that we were asking in studio last night. Why did Jet Howard wear a free Juwan Howard shirt? What was the meaning behind that? I don't know why you would want to bring that up in that scenario. That's a good question, Wesley. You kind of want to let sleeping dogs lie. You don't want to bring that back up. But here's what I thought, Wesley. Here's what I'm thinking. In the age of NIL, and these basketball players have business minds now. They're trying to expand their business acumen. He knew that it would get national TV coverage. And some people might think, oh, wow, that's a unique kind of a souvenir type thing. He could make some money off of it. I don't think it was the smartest thing to do from the standpoint of trying to get past that really bad scenario. I thought the irony that the game was on Valentine's Day was ironic. And the free Juwan shirt, I'm sure Jawan probably didn't want him to do it. But if Jet explained to him that it's a business proposition or whatever, then Jawan was like, man, go ahead and do it. Because Jawan supports his players, right? He's pro player. He supports his players. So from that standpoint, that's the only viable reason why I think you would have a T-shirt like that is that I think it was probably a money-making situation, but it wasn't done in good taste. I agree with you on that. Dickinson ski mask. Did you see that? Yes, I saw that. Ladies and gentlemen, these are 18 to 22-year-olds. They're fashion trend influenced. They're on social media. Black kids in Chicago wear that ski mask all the time. And it doesn't imply anything. It's kind of a trend situation. It looked weird that he was wearing a ski mask in Wisconsin when it wasn't that cold to really have a ski mask on. It's a fashion statement. So if you go on social media and type in ski mask, I haven't done it, but I'm sure you're going to see a ton of young people rocking ski masks because I've seen it here in Chicago. It's a fashion statement among young people. I'm sure there's a specific meaning for it, but you got to cats now. I encourage you to go on social media and look it up for yourself and just check into it and see what it is. I'm not going to do it because I think it's a trend and that's for young people. That's their world. I don't need to know everything about it. I don't need to even understand things about it. It doesn't bother me. I like when people are individualistic. I like when they show their personalities. We in the media want people to be, newsworthy, and Hunter Dickinson is certainly newsworthy. And he's made a lot of money during the NIL era. He's not a particularly good pitch man because he sounds like a monotone when this is the microwave that I put my food in. I mean, he sounds like the Terminator when he does his commercials. They're hilarious. So he's not a great pitch person, but he's getting paid. He's learning business while he's playing college basketball. He's outspoken, which generally big men are not. So he's a fun young man, and he does what he does. You may not like it, but I love it. I love big fella. So I'd encourage you to check out what it is instead of being critical of it. Go look into it instead of saying, well, why is he wearing a ski mask? Look into it. Do your research. And then you can make a more informed decision as opposed to it being an opinion. Because, my dad told me about opinions. If you spell out the acronym of opinions and then put a word to each letter and then come back to me and see what you find. Deion's Hoops page. Oh, great question. Zach Edey, Trace Jackson Davis, Jalen Pickett, Chris Murray at Iowa. And this last one's going to be a little controversial. I might have to put Boo Buie in there at Northwestern. I'm telling you, they're second in the Big Ten right now. No one was scoring except Boo Buie against Purdue. He had 26, and nobody was scoring for 30 minutes of that game. He kept them in that game. And then Audige caught fire and ended up with 15. But Buie has been balling. I'm telling you, it's between he and Jameer Young at Maryland is who I'd put in that fifth spot as all first team Big Ten. Boo Buie's been balling, but so has Jameer Young. Jameer Young has been putting up big numbers. So if I had to go all Big Ten first team, 4 are a lock. Edey, Jackson Davis, Pickett, and Murray at Iowa. But that fifth one, it would be a coin toss between Boo Buie and Jameer Young at Maryland. Great question, Deion Hoops. No, Chris Holtmann is not in trouble. Just a down year for Ohio State. He is certainly not in trouble. Let me see here. Let me get to some other people. Taylor, what's up, Taylor Clark? I don't know. This might be your first time. If it is, welcome, Taylor. Thanks for joining. Not sure who Illini should fear more, Trey Jackson Davis or Pickett. Fear them both. That's why. That's who you fear more. Fear them both because they can both sting you. Yes, exactly. Andy, right now, I think it's a solid 7, probably 8, but a solid 7. I know a lot of people say 8 or 9. I say a solid 7 because the way that these teams are losing, like you see Rutgers going through a slide. If you see a Northwestern or an Indiana or a Michigan State or an Illinois have a slide like that, I don't know. I would say for sure 7, probably 8. That's what I would say. Lania Jones, we talked about Michigan State earlier. Can't score and don't kill me. Seems like they play a boring style. Usually, yeah. Lania, I'm sorry. You making good points. They generally run better than they have this season. They've got Tom Izzo's had to adjust his approach to his personnel. And this Michigan State team doesn't have the first-round draft pick type. They don't have the guy that they can give the ball to one person and he can just take you down the stretch. Tyson Walker has done it at times, but consistently, I'm not sure he's the guy. I thought it would be Joey Hauser, but he's not been consistent in taking over games. He's playing better. He's been more consistent this season, but he's not a go-to guy. AJ Hoggard has been their best player, but he's not a guy. He's not like a Jalen Pickett or a Trace Jackson Davis that's just he's done it in games where he's carried them, but he's not. I don't ever think Hoggard is going to give you 30 or 25 to close out a game. I don't see him like that. So Michigan State doesn't have that elite NBA-ready talent that you've come accustomed to seeing in years past, but they are a very good team, in my opinion. And I'm telling you, if they can just get to the tournament, I think they're gonna surprise some people. I think they'll be very good in the NCAA tournament. I think they could be a second weekend team based on their veteran. They have really good guard play, and Tom Izzo's been there. So keep the faith. I think they're going to be fine. They just got to get out of the Big Ten Conference. Once they do that, I think they're fine. I do as well, Wesley. You know, Indiana did not look good in January. They got beat at home by Northwestern. I did the game at Penn State where they got beat by double digits. They did not look good, and Trace Jackson Davis was nursing a sore back. You didn't know what they were going to look like. And, boy, they came back against Illinois and thumped the Illini, and they've been rolling ever since. So Mike Woodson should be up for Big Ten Coach of the Year, no doubt about it. What's up, Dory? I'm afraid they will not win at Indiana and hope they don't see Penn State in the Big Ten tournament. Dory, you may have a point there. We'll see. I wouldn't count them out at Indiana, though. That's going to be a heck of a game. You may see a response from the Illini that you surprise and that may surprise you in that game. Let me see. Let me get to somebody else here. Melissa, anyone know why Jet Howard was wearing the free Juwan Howard shirt? Yep, we went into that. Let's see what Jeff is talking about here. Hopefully the Illini employ the same defensive strategy they did last time on Trace Jackson Davis. Obviously, Jeff is a Hoosiers fan, so Go IU for Jeff there. That's funny. Broke team rules, man. What could be so distractful on campus? Arthur Agee, that's funny. Look at you, Arthur. Oh, I thought Rihanna was off the chain. I thought she did a great job, pregnant and all. What have you ever seen a pregnant woman rock the mic in the stage like she did at the Super Bowl? And by the way, that's one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen. Great game, great game. Let's see, you guys are getting off topic here, so I'm gonna stay on topic. Melissa, that's a good question. I'm going to encourage you guys to join the tribe. Text me to 312-847-2739, or you can go on the newsletter, stephenbardo.com/Bardo dash college. Wait a minute. Stephen Bardo /college dash basketball dash newsletter. You can join the inner circle. That is the tribe. 2 different ways, on the newsletter or the text chain, 312-847-2739. I'm going to start doing something kind of special that's going to be outside of Bardo's breakdown that you may want to sign up for. So stay tuned on that, but I'll have more information on that. Laura Fox, my high school classmate, college classmate, ILL. Yeah, it was tough to watch. I was in studio, and me and Bruce Weber were sitting there shaking our heads. I'm having a blast working. I've worked last 2 weeks in studio with Bruce Weber, and it is so much fun working with him. He's a world of basketball knowledge. He still really pulls for the Illini, which is great to see. He wants the Illini to do well. And he's always been a how can I describe Bruce? He's salt of the earth. He doesn't change. He is a man of faith and of character, and it's fun to be around him because he's got so much knowledge, and he's got a coach's perspective that can really give you some insight to certain situations that even that I struggle with sometimes. Like, man, I wonder why they do that. And Bruce has. Like, he said something on the air last night that I thought was fantastic. Rick Pizzo asked, what do you do now that you're Rutgers? You're in a 3-game slide. You lost your most versatile defender. What do you do in this scenario? And Bruce Weber said, I'd have my team play wiffle ball. Now, to think about that, that's outstanding, because what he's doing is he's getting his team to relax, to have some fun, to get out of this grind, and to get their mindset out of this 3-game losing streak and the fact that they're without Mawat Mag. I thought that was outstanding. And to do that in February would give his team would give Steve Pikiell a breath of fresh air, and would give them a chance to reset and come back to the next practice refreshed with a sense of, okay, we got out of the grind, we did something differently, and now we can get back to business. I thought that was wonderful. And those are the type of insights that I get being around Bruce Weber in studio. So that was a lot of fun. Rob Nemrick, what are your thoughts of Zachary Perrin heading back to France? I'm not as knowledgeable on that situation. I'll look that up and come back and try to give you a little bit more insight. If he did go back, that's unfortunate. I don't know if he was homesick. I don't know if there's a family situation that took place. I'm not sure. I don't know the exact I don't know the facts around that, so I don't really want to comment on that, Rob, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of the Flyin Illini reaction. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are great. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you're doing well. Come back to this if you want to add to this, or you got something else that you'd like to add. And I check these daily so I can come back and answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time, y'all, holla, y'all.